Hello, everyone. My name is Andy O'Shaughnessy, and I'm the co-founder and co-executive director of Starling Collaborative. I'm also the founder and coordinator of the Holistic Restorative Certificate Program at St. Michael's College. And my email is Annie at starlingcollaborative.org if you have any questions about this presentation. So I actually made this presentation, parts of it, during the pandemic. I was asked by a district to create a series for educators to take care of themselves. And I am have revised this particular set of slides to talk about the importance of spacing and dosing when it comes to our self-care. So it's called Resilience and Calm Educator Strategies. So this is a slide, a word cloud that represents the feelings of folks back then, the difficult feelings that they were experiencing during the pandemic. And so these are the physical experiences that come from stress. And a lot of these symptoms I also experienced, even though I had plenty of skills, mindfulness practitioner, and on, know a lot about trauma and stress. And still, I was experiencing digestive problems, sleeplessness, some heart arrhythmias, all sorts of stuff. And I got really serious about how to take care of myself because what used to work no longer worked. And so I'm going to say that about all educators, that educators, by nature, if you're going to be an educator, you're going to be resilient because you wouldn't last in education if you weren't resilient. But resilience is not a character trait. So it's really important. It is not a character trait. It is a quality and it's a skill. And we can lose our resilience because of things outside of our control, especially unpredictable chronic things like a pandemic. And in our case today, in your case today, facing a classroom where you are not sure where the next really large behavior might come from, what it might consist of. So you today are facing chronic stress in classrooms and in school buildings that will cause these symptoms. And so if you want to stay in this profession, we have to, just like emergency room nurses and others, have to learn some pretty serious strategies for being at our best. So I always go back to the social neuroscience of education. My friend Louis Cozolino, while teachers may focus on what they are teaching, evolutionary history and current neuroscience suggests that it's who they are and the emotional environment in the classroom they are able to create that are the fundamental regulators of neuroplasticity. So I hate to put pressure on you because you're already under a lot, but it is true that your nervous system is one of the greatest factors in your students' ability to stay regulated. I learned this very clearly at Centerpoint School when I worked with really challenging youth who weren't able to function in public schools. And if I was stressed, they would feel it and they would dysregulate it. If I was calm and grounded, they would do much better. And this is physiologically and neuroscientifically true. We have mirror neurons that reflect back what others are doing and saying. We have things called emotional contagion. There's a lot of research about why it is that we kind of pick up on other people's quote unquote vibes. So fortunately, unfortunately, it's our ethical professional responsibility to take care of our nervous systems. And I say fortunately, because I hope that learning about this gives you the chutzpah to say no to things that are stressful in your personal life. Just like, it's been a stressful week in the classroom. It's, before vacation. And so I can't meet you. Even, social interactions can be a drain. So I'm hoping that this gives you license to say no to the things that stress you out. So this is that emotional co-regulation thing. It's central to why we're talking about this and if you don't know what it is, it's one person staying present for another through a challenging experience such that the stressed individual experiences a calming effect. And if you could just pause here and consider and think about a person in your life who has that grounded presence, with whom you feel calm just because of the way they are. And you're getting a glimpse of what is possible for you, what you can be for others, and what you might already be. But I'll tell you that if you believe, if you consider yourself as being that calming presence, then it's your job to maintain that. And as these times get more challenging, you'll need some of these practices. All right. So the reason that this is our professional responsibility is that learning can't happen. The reasoning can't happen until students, youth feel connected to those they're learning with and those they're learning from. And they can't connect with others if they don't feel safe, if their body is not regulated. So we have to regulate ourselves and each other before we can connect and relate to each other, before we can reason. So at the end of the day, we're talking about learning. We are talking about creating the conditions for learning to happen. Neuroplasticity increases with safety and connection. That's just a rule of the brain. All right. So at the heart of this, coming back, is your own state of regulation. Because as you learned in the window of tolerance activity, over time, we can get stuck on or stuck on off. And I have another video that you will or already have watched about compassion fatigue. So all that's wrapped up in here. But we are considering, as we enter our classroom and throughout the day or our educational space, where we are in the window of tolerance and what we need to get back solidly in the middle. And just so you know, sometimes, and I've experienced this, is you can have such high stress for such a long period of time that you just can't recoup that without taking some serious time off. And really, it takes a long time to get back in that window of tolerance. So if that's where you're at, I'm so sorry. And I'm hoping that through a leave of absence or something, you can find that extended period of rest and relaxation. So this is a message to everybody that there is increased stress and trauma across the country and across the state in many, many, many areas, between the global warming and the different weather-related disasters that we've experienced here in Vermont and everywhere, to the political stress that we're experiencing, and then take into account the social media stress that students feel. Everyone should feel and expect more fatigue. So the core message that you should take away, no matter what, is this sense of gentleness, that we are in this thing. We are in a thing. It's a unique time, a very unique time to be an educator, a very difficult time to be an educator. So please acknowledge that and understand that the things that you're feeling are being felt by thousands and thousands of other educators. All right, so the core concept of this slideshow is about dosing and spacing. So this is something I learned in the middle of the pandemic as I was trying to navigate these different symptoms and understand how I can get my body back in a relaxed state. And this, what I learned from Dr. Bruce Perry, was new to me. And this is what we usually do for self-care. And I'd like you to think about it for yourself. Maybe an hour, like I had a little hour run this morning. You might have a yoga. You might meet a friend after work. And these things certainly are super essential for staying, maintaining your regulation and and relieving stress. However, times of high stress, we need to decrease the spacing between doses of self-care and decrease the dosing. So decreasing both the size of the self-care and the space between the self-care. So he says during really stressful times, we need a small dose of self-care, self-regulation every 7 minutes. All right, so that seems totally impossible, but it's not when you understand what he means by dosing. So, so like what we're talking about, a small dose, and we're going to go through some of these. Maybe having a rock in your pocket that is from a beach that you visited this summer or last summer that brings you joy, and you feel it in your pocket. You squeeze it every 7 minutes. So some of you might have worry stones when you were a child. Another very common source of a small dose, is having a photo of your family pet or a loved one on your desk, looking at that, and not just glancing at it, but just pausing to feel their love, their support, taking a breath. Okay, that's a dose. Another dose is pausing to take a sip of water, but instead of just rushing it down your throat, pausing to really feel it go down your throat and nourishing your body. Really savoring a piece of chocolate. So you might notice already that these are fairly mindful activities where you're um, allowing yourself to experience the sensations that the activity is bringing to you. So I'm just gonna, for the rest of the time, just give you some ideas. So your job in regulating yourself, your nervous system. So just to review, first thing, caring for your nervous system is your professional responsibility because it is the number one tool you have to regulate your students. If students aren't regulated, we've learned they will not have access to their neocortex and be able to think or reason, and they'll probably cause misbehavior. Number two, that co-regulation is only possible when you're regulated. So these are some techniques. And then, so in order to best regulate yourself, you need, yes, healthy lifestyle. You need those big doses of self-care. And then you need throughout the day things that you do with students or on your own in small little tiny chunks that are self-care. And so we're going to start this website. edenscounseling.com has a bunch of great ideas, grounding techniques and self-soothing. So how grounding works is, first of all, it's super easy. It's focusing on some aspect of the physical world rather than your internal thoughts and feelings. So that's what 2 feet, 1 breath is, a grounding activity. I'm thinking about my feet and I'm thinking about my breath. It's focusing on the present rather than past or future, just for a moment. And when you practice your grounding techniques, you practice them so that they come naturally and quickly to you when you're upset. And the important thing is to try a variety of them and kind of rate their effectiveness and then choose your own. You can have others assist you in using these techniques by reminding you to practice them. I actually would do that with my students. I told them that my tell for high stress is when I start rubbing my jaw. And I did that, I told them, when I start to do that, remind me to take 3 breaths. And they actually would. It was awesome. And so here's one of my favorite things to teach students, which is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it silently, so it's not embarrassing. You're just thinking, noticing 5 things you can see and naming them in your brain. Yellow wall, coffee cup, water, glass of water, eyeglasses, pen, right? And then 4 things you can feel, right? Pick up things, and then you can hear. And this is very highly effective with students and with staff. So for you, as a as a small dose of self-regulation, you might just choose to notice a couple things you see. So what's really important, of course, with self-regulation is that self-awareness piece. Some of us are fairly disconnected for no reason from sensation. We operate a lot from our heads. This is true of me. We're not really connected to our bodies. So we have to literally check in with ourselves and say, what am I feeling? It's not until I know what I'm feeling that I can actually call on these tools. So if I just power through my day and never stop to check in, I am not going to do these practices. So you have to get into these pausing where you're like, checking with myself. Oh, I'm feeling some stress, right? And I would say right now we got to do this proactively, whether you're feeling stressed or not. Doing this dosing of self-care is important. So here's an exercise I often do with students, which is just to notice your body, the weight of your body in the chair. So just pausing right now, noticing the weight of your body, wiggle your toes in your socks. Feel the chair against your back if you're leaning back. Stretch, roll your head around. This is all a little dose. Shake and jiggle. So I do this a lot when I'm working, just to jiggle my shoulders and my arms. I'll get up and just do that. Grab tightly onto your chair as hard as you can and release. It's another great one. Focus on your breathing. Notice each inhale. Count to 10. Those are 5 really great little microdoses of self-regulation activities you should teach your students and you should do yourself as often as possible before you get out of that window of tolerance. So self-soothing is another category. So those were all very grounding. This is self-soothing. It's calming. Helps you regulate. You can feel like yourself. It's a skill. And the key is to find healthy self-soothing skills that help you cope versus quick fix soothing that are ultimately harmful. So we're talking there about alcohol and maybe for me over exercise. But so we're not asking you not to, to stop drinking, go cold turkey on anything, but we're just saying to bring some awareness that the more that you bring these kind of self-soothing techniques into your life, the more that the less you will depend on some of those less healthy ways of self-soothing. So self-soothing, this is the low lighting. You might bring in some different lighting to your classroom, essential oils, soothing colors, weighted blanket. So sounds, calming noise, taste, something yummy. Right? These are all important things that you can bring into your workspace and use when you need them and share with students. Flowers. Flowers are a great self-soothing tool. You have them on your desk. You look at them, you smile. That's a dose. And then we have positive self-talk. I do this a lot. I always say, oh, honey, it'll be okay. Like I am my own honey. Kind of weird. But there's nothing wrong with feeling badly. This de-stresses me for some reason. Like I feel like I'm wrong to feel bad, that I shouldn't feel bad. And then my other great one for me is you don't need to be up all the time to be loved. Like I feel like if I'm grouchy that no one will love me, and then what will happen, right? So everyone will have their own little phrases, but I'll tell you, it really helps to put them on little cards and have them around. So you might come up with some affirmations. I would do this with my students, have little mottos or self-talk that they like to hear. And we had their own little resourcing kit. So whether it's literal or physical, everyone in schools today should have a self-resourcing kit. The things that make them grounded, feel grounded, the things, instructions for how to self-soothe, and some positive self-talk messages. So these are the positive reminders. This is my dog Molly, and I get choked up just looking at her. So it's a huge hit for my self-regulation to look at her and to feel her love. Posting inspiring quotes around your workspace, pictures of people and pets. So these are the proactive things you need to do to care for yourself. And that's why we call it self-care 2.0. Again, the self-soothing is a lot about the senses and sounds. So lots of ideas in this slideshow, and we'll give you a link to the slideshow itself, so you can come back to it. I think this is finally we have building routines and structures. So the self-care buddy to check in with, keeping a log. So during the pandemic, I had just had a very simple log. It took me 2 seconds, but I had discovered through all my experimentation that 4 things really helped: was time in nature, Being kind to others really helped me because they smiled. That was like a dose. S is for self-care. So those being maybe putting lotion on myself, just really slowing down for caring for myself and making sure I laughed. And I just tracked, like making sure I did all 4 of those things every day. Rituals, rubbing your feet with lotion, make dates with friends. So there's some self-care. And then finally, I learned to like at the begin with. I think it's great that we began with and now we're ending with learning to say no like a boss. So I always use this example where it's a little outdated, but Tom Brady is a very successful, one of the most successful um, quarterbacks of all time, and I know for damn sure that the night before a game, he didn't say yes to someone asking him to stay up all night and talk to him about their problems, or someone who asked him to help paint their house, or I know for sure that he had a very, very strict regimen for preparing for his game. And we're not asking teachers to be that extreme, but him knowing the importance of his role on the team as quarterback and his responsibility to his players meant that he could say no. Like, I actually can't. No, it's not just about me. So I'm ending with that because it's not just about you feeling good. You are doing all the things that I've just gone through, not for selfish reasons, not to just feel good. It's for your job, it's for your children, it's for your colleagues, it's for your students, it's for your spouse. All these things. If you're an educator today, you need to do these things for yourself so that you can be all those things for others. Okay, well, yeah, I all I can say is that keep doing what you're doing in terms of your profession. We need you, and yeah, write with any questions or suggestions for different techniques that have worked for you. Annie at starlingcollaborative.org. Have a great day.